Mo Yuheng had no idea that he would become a cannon fodder supporting actress in a book, or a stepping stone specifically designed to provide spiritual roots for the female protagonist. In order to avoid being cannon fodder, she escaped a disaster through the prophet, worked hard to cultivate, and seized the opportunity. Faced with the female protagonist's various schemes of framing, Mo Yuheng swung his sword. Although you are the aura of the unlucky female protagonist with a large number of followers, snatch her treasure. Come on, hit it as it is. Keywords of the novel. She took the script of the Cultivation Cannon Fodder without a pop-up window, downloaded the complete set of the Cultivation Cannon Fodder script TXT, and read the latest chapter of the Cultivation Cannon Fodder script. Chapter 1. Small Cannon Gray. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1. Small Cannon Gray. In the Shumi realm, the northern part of the Cultivation continent is under the jurisdiction of the Yao Guangzong sect. In the easternmost area under its jurisdiction, over the city of Golden Scales, dark clouds abound, lightning flashes and thunder roar, and rainwater pours down like a waterfall. The entire city's streets were submerged, and the streets were empty. People hide at home and refuse to take a step out. The entire Golden Scales city is inhabited by immortals and mortals, and the most famous family in the city is the Mo family, who have been living in the city for 10,000 to 5,000 years. The family's children have spread their branches and leaves, and their descendants are flourishing. Every child who has a divine connection and reaches the goal of building a foundation must marry and have children, continue to have offspring, and ensure a continuous stream of incense. The sky above Mo's house is shrouded in mist, and the dark clouds are very low, appearing gloomy and oppressive. No one has the heart to explore the world of rainwater outside. The cultivators in the mansion are wholeheartedly focused on practicing and improving their realm. It's because they are too focused on cultivation, ignore external affairs, and fail to notice a subtle lightning bolt in the sky, quickly falling into a remote and desolate courtyard. The lightning made a clicking sound and plunged directly into a 5-year-old girl. The originally pale and bloodless face showed no signs of heaviness on the chest, and the breathing was clearly gone. At this moment, a miracle happened, and the little girl's chest slowly began to rise and fall slightly, her breathing slowly became even, and her pale face gradually turned red. But her eyebrows furrowed tightly, and beads of sweat as big as beans rolled onto the tattered blanket. Her body trembled slightly, and after a long time, the little girl instantly opened her eyes, her pupils wide open. Suddenly sit up and hold your hands tightly behind you. Breathing heavily, my chest heaving violently. My thin body was shaky and about to fall, my hands were constantly shaking or desperately supporting me. Feeling as heavy as a daughter's head, feeling dizzy and heavy, with a weak body, it took a long time for it to ease. It seems like we need to determine something. One hand slowly lifted up and opened in front of her, it was a pair of tender little hands, no longer the familiar pair of adult palms. It's unbelievable, I woke up in an instant. I closed my eyes and got memories, thinking it was just a dream. It turned out it wasn't a dream. That's right, she traveled through time and slowly accepted the reality of time travel. Because she had already accepted the memory of this body and learned that she had traveled to a world with cultivators, and had even slipped into a particularly popular novel, becoming the cannon fodder female supporting character in it, but still unable to survive 3 chapters of cannon fodder. Her role as Mo Yuheng was prepared to provide the female lead with a talented spiritual root. I couldn't help but smile bitterly. She was originally an orphan, but through her own efforts, she was admitted to university and changed her fate. She was hired by a good company and became a white-collar worker. In recent years, I have been constantly saving money to buy houses and cars, as well as a large amount of savings. He didn't have time to travel and enjoy himself, make a boyfriend, and unfortunately was hit and killed by a runaway truck, ending his brief life. It's not true that I'm not feeling down in my heart, but now I've become a 5-year-old girl, 25 years younger all of a sudden. I've saved my life and 25 years of youth, and my mood has improved a lot. I am fortunate that I have foresight, know how to buy insurance and make a will. All my property and insurance compensation are donated to the orphanage to repay the orphanage's kindness in nurturing me for many years. Thinking of this, I began to organize my thoughts. Through the combination of memory, I learned that the novel she entered through time travel was called, Immortal Love is Mysterious. Fortunately, she became the canon fodder female supporting character Mo Yuheng with the same name and surname. And the book, Immortal Love is Mysterious, mainly tells the story of the female protagonist Mo Zhishue's immortal cultivation career. When she was young, her parents received a family mission to go out and pick elixirs. However, on the way, they encountered a robbery. Her father stopped the robber, and her mother took Mo Zhishue to a farmhouse for resettlement. Her mother went back to search but did not come back to pick her up. The farming family that placed Mo Zhishue began to treat her very well, but later did not see her parents coming to pick her up. They began to abuse her, not giving her food, and had to work. Beating and scolding were common, working day and night without finishing or having food to eat. Fortunately, when he grew up to the age of 15, he had to be sold to a wealthy family in the town as a concubine. He ran into a wall and fought to the death, but fortunately, the head of the Mo family learned of Mo Zhishue's whereabouts and arrived in time to save her. He originally wanted to deal with the foster parents who raised Mo Zhishue. Mo Zhishue repays her grievances with virtue, forgives her foster parents, and wins the favor of the clan leader, believing that she is indeed a good girl. The clan leader returned to the family with Mo Zhishue, but it was unclear whether Mo Zhishue was the female lead. After leaving, the foster parents and their family inexplicably passed away. In the end, Mo Zhishue returned to the Mo family and gradually cultivated immortality. With strong luck, she gained countless treasures along the way and quickly became stronger. She also had countless followers in the harem, becoming one of the talented ascending cultivators. The plot begins with Mo Zhishue obtaining a family heirloom jade pendant from her foster mother. Mo Zhishue's female lead's aura is unleashed, and on her way back to the Mo family, she discovers the mystery inside the jade pendant, which actually attaches to the soul of an ancient powerful cultivator, Mo Lao. Originally, Mo Lao wanted to kill Mo Zhishue and take her away, but found out that she was a person without spiritual roots. She was angry and frustrated, and had no choice. Although Mo Zhishue was disappointed that she did not have spiritual roots, she was grateful that it was only in this way that she could live. Only by knowing her chips can one be qualified to negotiate terms and cooperate with the other party. Achieve Mo Zhishue's help in finding materials that can reshape the real body, which can eliminate the risk of being struck by lightning when taking possession. Mo Lao stayed by Mo Zhishue's side, helped the female protagonist, and told Mo Zhishue that she had no spiritual roots to take from others for her own use, so she could practice. Because in 3 days, the family will test the spiritual roots and it is urgent to seize them. Through the memory of the original owner, Mo Yuheng shivered all over during the previous feverish scene, where it rained heavily outside and each scene matched the book. Does she want the same ending as in the novel? Seized by Mo Zhishue and died in endless pain. She couldn't easily give up the chance that God showed kindness and gave her another chance to live. We must find a way to escape the desperate situation at this moment. Thinking about the unfortunate fate of the original owner, who was not clearly described in the book but became a stepping stone for Mo Zhishue. There is no grudge or grievance between the two, but Mo Zhishue has taken action against a 5-year-old girl from the original owner. It can be seen that Mo Zhishue has no mercy at all. She is a ruthless and selfish person. No, it's better to escape quickly. Stay here for a moment, and your life is in danger. Thanks to her arrival, the fever gradually subsided. Due to hunger, my body was weak and I stood up, feeling dizzy. It took me a long time to recover my strength. Originally, my hands and feet were a bit soft, but I slowly regained my strength. Hurry up and put on your shoes, then open the door and leave the hallway. I heard the familiar and unfamiliar voices of two women outside. Through memory, it comes to mind that these two people are his maids. Yuheng held his breath and walked lightly to the door, choosing a tricky position to poke a small hole in it. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Escape. Through the small hole, I noticed two women sitting outside, looking only 15 or 16 years old, one in pink and the other in yellow. In my memory, these two were the maidservants of the original owner. They didn't take good care of them and didn't do their best. They were determined to find a new way out, but didn't take her seriously. They despised the original owner's background for burdening them. If it weren't for her, they wouldn't have been wronged as the original owner's maidservants. Blaming everything on the original owner, as if she was blocking their path towards a bright future. Thinking of this, Yuheng couldn't help but sneer. The original owner didn't understand what it meant, she understood. No wonder they conspired with Jishue to assassinate the original owner. I originally wanted to turn around, but I heard their conversation. The girl in pink glanced at the tightly closed door and twisted her dress tightly with both hands, feeling uneasy. Sister, this won't work. It's better to quickly call a doctor to treat the young lady. The fever is high, and if we delay like this, we will burn into fools. We can't bear the blame from above. The girl in yellow disdained to look at her and said with jealousy, "What are you afraid of? This young lady from an unknown origin, I don't know if she was an illegitimate daughter or a wild girl from somewhere, has jumped into the family's young lady. If the Mo family really cares, how could they be sent to stay in a wilderness-like courtyard? Years of indifference show that she has been abandoned. But, big sister, why do we have to bear human lives? Why don't we wait for the young lady to test our spiritual roots? If we really have a spiritual root, wouldn't we be able to leap into the endless scenery of the Dragon Gate?" The girl in pink tried to dissuade her anxiously, and her eyebrows kept beating all afternoon, as if something bad was about to happen. None of us have spiritual roots, so we should gamble on the chance of 1 in 10,000. If she doesn't have spiritual roots, we should be like other sisters, bound together with the Master, sent to the village of mortals, and lead a life of mortals. How can I be so willing to be ordinary? The girl in yellow clothes, with her fist in hand, saw the extraordinary ability of cultivating immortals, the magic skills of flying to heaven and hiding from the earth, and the immortality of life, so she was not willing to go to a life of mediocrity. That's impossible. Big sister. The girl in pink was even more worried and wanted to continue persuading, but was interrupted by the other party. I have made up my mind, there is no need to waste words anymore. Besides, Miss Jishue's parents are both good spiritual roots, and there is a 50% chance of having spiritual roots. Moreover, if brought back by the clan leader, having spiritual roots is a certainty. Why gamble on that 1 in 10,000 chance? As long as we take a little risk, we can get rid of the current predicament. The girl in yellow clothes does not care about the life and death of the original owner, only cares about her own whereabouts. They secretly pushed the original owner Yuheng into the river, choking on the water and startling her. Not only did they not pull her up in time, but they also did not change their clothes in time before being sent back to their room and lying on the bed. This was too much for a malnourished 5-year-old girl to eat, and she suddenly developed a high fever without seeking medical treatment. The original owner died in despair. If it weren't for her arrival, Yuheng would have changed the destined ending. But it cannot be denied that those two people really succeeded in killing the original protagonist. Without her intervention, they would die in the hands of the female protagonist, just like in the book. The girl in pink thought for a while before finally gritting her teeth and nodding, "All right, big sister knows when Miss Shui will come over. It's been so long, and if anything happens to Miss Shui, it's difficult to explain. Don't worry. This lowly hoof will die a long time ago. Why wait until this moment? Her life is hard, she couldn't die from beating or scolding before, nor from hunger. The girl in yellow comforted her and glanced at the door, continuing to be the gatekeeper. Upon hearing these words, the girl in pink felt a sense of reason. The fear and unease in her eyes disappeared, and what remained was profit and hope for the future, but it was filled with the lives of others. Yuheng was extremely disgusted by the other party. With a weak body and a 5-year-old body, he was not a match for the other party at all. The only option was to escape through the window. Because after a quarter of the hour, it was 7 o'clock, which was the time when Zhishue came. She didn't want to be treated as a fat sheep and wait for the other party to come and harvest. Yuheng inspected the decorations inside the house and found them very shabby. There was nothing left, and when he saw the raincoat and hat dripping on one side, they were probably from two people outside. He was overjoyed and decisively opened the window, throwing them outside. Fortunately, the heavy rain outside swallowed up the sound she made. I tried it out, but there was no alarm. I had the courage to fight and my movements were faster. Fortunately, the window was not high enough to reach her shoulders. Immediately flipped over and jumped to the ground, standing on the soil, clothes and bodies were immediately soaked by the heavy rain in the sky. Ignoring these things, I put on my hat and raincoat and came to the place in the original owner's memory where I often crawled out of the dog hole. The original owner was extremely hungry and accidentally discovered a dog in the kitchen frequently coming and going here. Curious, on a deserted night, he crawled out of the dog hole and found out that it was a kitchen where children were stealing food. She was extremely hungry and, driven by desire, also sneaked in to get food. There wasn't much left inside, but the original owner didn't starve to death. According to my memory, as I cleared the grass, I suddenly saw a small and medium-sized dog hole and crouched down to crawl over. It can be seen that it is a large courtyard, with an ordinary perimeter, but the entire room is large, with good ventilation and lighting. The corridor outside was specially built to be very spacious, with people coming and going, carrying leftovers into the kitchen. Fragrance wafted from inside, and the whispers of those people were buried by the sound of rain. Yuheng smelled the aroma of the rice and his stomach growled. With a bitter smile, he touched his withered stomach and looked at the hallway specially elevated, giving Yuheng an opportunity to take advantage of the space left underground. There is a space under the kitchen that rainwater cannot reach, and it looks very dry. It is only one floor away from the kitchen, so it is more convenient to steal something to eat. Yuheng took off his hat and raincoat, and quietly climbed to the bottom of the kitchen. Inside, it was not too dark, and the candlelight could be seen shining through from above. There was also a relatively hot place where a fire was burning. Seeing the place where the fire was burning, Yuheng felt drenched and uncomfortable. He took off his clothes and let them dry before putting them back on again, feeling much refreshed. After finishing this, the pouring rain outside stopped, and the sound of the kitchen people above could no longer be heard. It was obvious that everyone had already left. What she didn't know was that she had escaped from the original owner's yard for half an hour. Coincidentally, Zhishue and the two maids had agreed on a time. As soon as Zhishue came over, she found that Yuheng was no longer there. She was so angry that she wished to kill the two maids. It is precisely because of their negligence that their plans are in vain, and they have to choose other people. That day, their spiritual roots will be almost equal, and their cultivation will become very slow. The two maids were startled and dared not say a word. Although Yuheng was still suffering from a high fever inside the house, he disappeared without seeing him. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. 3 is missing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 is missing. Miss Zhishue has a good temper and has always been very kind. But what do they see? Zhishue would get angry and wish she had eaten them. The two of them thought they were wrong and couldn't believe that touching their eyes to see was true. Before they could beg for mercy, they noticed a phantom beside Mo Jishue, which was Mo Lao. They heard that Mo Jishue had asked the phantom to go find Mo Yuheng. The other party searched through the entire courtyard but couldn't find Mo Yuheng's whereabouts. Thanks to the rain, it washed away the breath and traces. Even if Mo Lao had the ability to control the sky, he had no choice. Just in Mo Jishue's anger, he noticed a servant in the corner of the yard, still holding food from the kitchen, sneaking by. Hearing the commotion inside, he dodged with curiosity and saw Mo Lao, thinking it was some kind of evil spirit. He scared himself and ran away. Mo Jishue screamed inwardly that it was not good. In order to avoid exposing and causing unnecessary trouble, Mo Lao killed him and turned into black mist, engulfing the servants and disappearing silently. Upon seeing Mo Yuheng's two maids, their legs were weak and they knelt down disobediently. Mo Jishue had been so beautiful in their hearts before, but now she is so shocked. Miss Jishue, I have neglected my duty. Please spare my life. I will definitely do my best in the future and such a situation will not happen again. The girl in yellow kowtowed and begged for mercy, looking in horror at the soul of Mo Jishue emerging from behind, with weak legs and feet. I'll spare you. Mo Jishue smiled, pure as a simple child. We haven't found the trace of that little girl, so let's choose the next one. Don't waste any more time. You only have less than 3 days left, and it will take 2 more days to merge and become yours to seize the spiritual root. Don't waste time with the 2 of them, said Mo coldly. That's right, then they'll leave it to you. Since they see my secret, they must have a sense of death. Mo Jishue approached step by step, reached out to pick up the chin of the girl in pink clothes, and shook it off before leaving. I didn't turn my head to look at the gruesome scene on the back. Mo Lao turned into a black fog and threw himself at the 2 sisters who were begging for mercy. Mo Lao suppressed them and could not move. Miss, please, I dare not, really. Ah. Suddenly engulfed by black mist, disappearing without leaving any trace, restoring human form, returning to the jade pendant, Mo Jishue leaves. Who is the next poor person? However, Mo Yuheng, who was standing under the kitchen, was unable to protect himself and did not consider anything else. He was unaware of what had happened in the courtyard where he had left, which was even more bloody than the description of the original owner in the book. During her time testing her spiritual roots here, she needs to hide and not let Mo Jishue discover herself, otherwise the outcome will not be very beautiful. To wait for the spiritual root to be tested, with the care and protection of the Mo family, Mo Jishue dared not take action. Now I am mainly feeling hungry and dizzy. It seems like it's time to go into the kitchen to find food. After waiting for a while, I found that no one was in the kitchen. Based on the original owner's memory, I climbed up a hole, gently tapped the stone, clicked, opened a small hole, and slowly climbed up inside the kitchen. This is the location where the original owner was extremely hungry before. When he crawled over, he saw a child sneaking in here to steal food. She also stole it a few times before barely avoiding hunger. The interior of the kitchen is very spacious and tidy, with 10 large buns neatly placed on the middle stove. My stomach was growling incessantly, and I couldn't help but swallow my saliva. I walked over, raised my toes, and reached out to grab one. The wolf choked and a bun suddenly entered my stomach. Because of his short stature, he is not as tall as the stove. During this period, I didn't know if there was a dark little hand, so I also took a bun. Mo Yuheng picked up another one and continued to eat, finishing the same meal. He coughed heavily and covered his mouth with both hands before making any sound. Pick up your clothes, place buns one by one on your toes, and think about how a large bun can be used as a meal. It's better to steal less, it's too risky. After getting the third one, I reached out to touch it, but I didn't get it. What's going on? Mo Yuheng raised his eyebrows and touched it again, but did not find a black hand doing the same. He touched it again. Mo Yuheng couldn't help but take a few steps back and looked at an 8-year-old boy, only to find that her hair was messy, her clothes were tattered, and her exposed skin was all wounds. He glared at Mo Yuheng, bared his teeth, holding 3 buns in one hand and raising his fist in the other, warning him, "I didn't care if you ate them before. Bring the other buns over, be careful if I hit you and even snatch them from me." Mo Yuheng was too lazy to pay attention to him, knowing that there were people in the entire Mo family who were equally hungry as her, as well as those who often came here to steal food. It's not worth it to really argue and disturb the night watchers outside. I have looked around the kitchen and since there is nothing else to eat here, I turned around and left. Hey! Don't leave. Give me the food quickly. The 8-year-old boy, although thin and weak, was very agile. He quickly jumped off the backstage and chased after him, blocking in front of Mo Yuheng. Mo Yuheng was in a very bad mood. He took a ceramic bowl from the table next to him and said calmly, "You can come and grab it. The consequence is that I will smash the bowl and make a noise, alerting the night watchers outside. We can't even think of walking around. Aren't you afraid of being caught and punished?" The 8-year-old boy was shocked, with a look of fear in his eyes, as he shook off all the previous arrogant threats. "You can give it a try." Mo Yuheng quickly lifted the bowl high and was about to fall to the ground. The little boy almost let out a sound in his throat, his heart pounding, and he said, "No, no, no, that's all for you." Mo Yuheng put down his bowl, turned around and left, opened the entrance and lowered the bottom. The little boy saw it and muttered softly, "Hey! Where are you going?" Mo Yuheng ignored him, got his things, didn't leave. What else could he do? "Wait for me." The little boy walked over, opened the floor, and jumped down. Mo Yuheng put away the buns, organized a place, and lay down to sleep. There have been too many things happening on this day, very tired, I need to take a break. It's summer now, because it rains during the day, the air outside is a bit fresh and not so stuffy. Tomorrow we will have to listen carefully to see if someone from the Mo family has disappeared inexplicably or if a corpse has been discovered. It can be said that Mo Jishua's hand is most likely to fall. "Hey! You're sleeping here. You're not afraid of being discovered?" the little boy asked again and pushed in front of Mo Yuheng. Mo Yuheng got angry when he was disturbed and said, "You can keep arguing. The night watchman outside has noticed him coming. You." The little boy wanted to lose his temper and reluctantly suppressed it. He glanced outside, but no one came to relax. His tone softened a bit. "My name is Mo Kipu, what's your name?" Mo Yuheng originally didn't want to talk to him. Thinking about how familiar he was with the kitchen as a child, he should have a better understanding of the terrain and location of the Mo family. Opening his eyes rolled and he said, "Mo Yuheng." Upon hearing this name, Mo Jipu was greatly surprised and pointed at her, saying, "You are Mo Yuheng, from Lingxiang Academy." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Strong background cannot be reliable. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Strong background cannot be reliable, what's so big about it? Mo Yuheng looked at him lazily and calmly. "It's a big surprise. Don't you know your background?" Mo Jipu asked unwillingly. "I am locked up every day, bullied and insulted by servants, and my messages are blocked. What can I know? I'm curious, I don't even know myself." "How do you know?" Mo Yuheng didn't sleep and couldn't wait to know the original owner's background. He got up and sat up, yawning. Seeing that Mo Yuheng became interested, Mo was a bit proud and didn't take Xiao for granted. "Of course I know. Last year on the way out to find food, I accidentally heard the clan leader and several elders talking about your affairs. Both inside and outside, they said that your father is a Yuaning cultivator, and he is an elder within the 2 major sects, Yushu and Yaoguang." Ha! Mo Yuheng lay back on the ground uninteresting and sneered, if I had such a tough background, would I still fall to the point of being bullied by servants? Don't touch your nose with simplicity, dumbfounded. At that time, when he heard these news, he didn't believe it either. The clan leader and his team won't eat or have nothing to do. Let's just talk nonsense. After all, due to his young age, I don't believe that Yuheng's parents have extraordinary backgrounds. That's right, otherwise with their parents' protection, you wouldn't have become like this. Yuheng felt that it was highly likely to be true, and after being excited for a while, he quickly calmed down. Many questions. Why did she fall here? Maybe her parents died in an accident, or maybe she didn't care about her daughter. The last one may be zero, because a powerful cultivator has to pay a great price to give birth to a child, risking the damage of their cultivation level to give birth to such a child. How can such a child not be favored by their parents? That could be the previous issue, both parents had an issue. Why do the sect and Mo family not value her as much? Allowing him to rise and fall on his own. Because in a novel called, Immortal Love is Mysterious, it is said that 90% of the children of powerful cultivators have spiritual roots, and each of them has good spiritual roots and talents. Why are the sects and families not protecting them? When the original owner grows up to the age of 5, they test their spiritual roots. If there are no spiritual roots, they can deal with them. With powerful talents, they can make a steady profit without losing. Why are they so eager to ignore the original owner? That's because there was a problem with the original protagonist's spiritual root. I was surprised to think that the protagonist in the book was taken by the female protagonist Mo Jishue, and there were no problems during the cultivation process. Think about it this way to feel a bit more stable inside. Watching Mo Yuheng, his head gradually drifted into a dreamland. I don't know why he slept so soundly, but Mo Chipu also slowly closed his eyes and fell asleep. On the second day, after sunbathing 3 poles, Mo Yuheng opened his sleepy eyes and rubbed them. He could vaguely hear sparse sounds. Looking at the place where the sound was coming from, Mo Rustic did not leave, but at the place where Mo Yuheng dried his clothes yesterday, he baked baozi. Mo Jipu smiled happily and said, "You finally woke up. You haven't left yet." Mo Yuheng got up, his words mixed with dissatisfaction. Everyone likes to have their own private space and is not allowed to be disturbed. Moreover, they are not familiar with each other and speak in a hurried manner. I've noticed that you're doing well here, and I'll take you with me. At least someone can talk to you, which can relieve stress and not feel bored. Mo Jipu's face was quite thick. Mo Yuheng looked at him for a while, and the child was in the same situation as himself, even stealing more food here. However, I should be very familiar with all the roots of Mo Mansion. I will go to test my spiritual roots the day after tomorrow afternoon, and I don't even know how to get there. By spending a lot of time exploring the route, having him lead the way can save time. Sure. Mo Chipu was overjoyed and handed the roasted buns to Mo Yuheng. Mo Yuheng didn't hesitate to take the still hot steamed buns, rinse his mouth with water first, and then eat the buns. With so many, he didn't care whether he needed to brush his teeth or not. Filling his stomach first is the most important thing. After finishing the buns, Mo Yuheng washed his hands and looked at him. "Since you want to stay, let me know your name and other details first," he said. Mo Jipu and nodded and began to tell his identity. For some reason, the atmosphere couldn't help but become oppressive and heavy, despite the bloody experience. Mo Chipu was the illegitimate son of Su Yinyang, the concubine of the clan leader. At that time, Su Yinyang was as beautiful as a flower and deeply favored by the clan leader. Women behind the clan leader's courtyard were jealous of her, but Su Yinyang inexplicably poisoned and died. Mo Jipu has become a childless child, and every woman's anger from Aunt Su is spilled on her. The Mo family is very concerned about the family's children, and if Mo Jipu dies, the consequences will be very serious. It cannot be killed, but can only be done secretly. Beating and scolding, not giving food, drink, and clothing, and dismissing servants at the time. Mo Chipu, who was only 4 years old, almost did not die. Fortunately, with the help of kind-hearted people, he managed to survive by bumping around. At the age of 5, he wanted to test his spiritual roots but was dragged by his stepmother and aunts, secretly blocking him from doing so. He stubbornly delayed 3 opportunities for testing, and could only waste his time in the courtyard. His legitimate mother can allow him to test his spiritual roots. Without a spiritual root, he can be thrown out of the Mo family and sent to the village for self-destruction. However, Mo Jipu has spiritual roots. The Mo family is not a simple family, and there is also Yuan Xinjuan. During this time, he visited the Mo family several times and just saw Mo Jipu. He is very clever and destined. Can you help me test him and say that he has spiritual roots? It will take 5 years to know what kind of spiritual root it is. This sentence completely made the women in the backyard jealous and resentful. Later, Aunt Sue disappeared and had many children, so she didn't care about such an illegitimate son, completely losing her status and opportunities. Mo Yuheng felt sorry for Mo's simplicity, but did not give any evaluation. He is so shameless, a person who works hard for survival, has his own way of survival, and he is very smart and lucky to survive. It is very similar to her current situation, with a strong sense of empathy. The place you have chosen is very good, with water and food, and there is also an oven like this that can heat things and bake clothes. Mo Jipu's eyes were still filled with envy, as the conditions in his hiding place were not as good as here. Watching him recover from his sadness, not feeling sad, but laughing out loud, without noticing his forced appearance, it is evident that he is cheerful. Do you want a better place to live? Mo Yuheng tempted. Of course, do you know where it is? Mo Jipu looked at Mo Yuheng eagerly. Mo Yuheng coughed and said, after testing the spiritual roots, if there are spiritual roots, they will be assigned to a separate yard. Isn't that fragrant? Mo Jipu's head wilted as he lost interest and said, forget it. If it weren't stopped, that would be great. I also want to thank my good stepmother. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Martial Law. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Martial Law. I don't want to say anything else, it would be unlucky and affect his mood of getting a friend at this moment. What came to mind next? Looking at Mo Yuheng, he said, you are also 5 years old and can test your spiritual roots. I can take you there. You are my only friend. Upon hearing this, Mo Yuheng was overjoyed. He didn't expect Mo Jipu to be so righteous, and couldn't help feeling guilty about his attitude towards a child. Forget it, help him once, and repay his help in leading the way. Let's go test our spiritual roots tomorrow. Someone is blocking me, I can't approach, otherwise it will implicate you, Mo Jipu worried. No, together. If I have a way to let you in, I want you to go out and pretend to be a woman. Mo Yuheng looked at his expression with disdain. As long as he was a boy, even if he had thick skin, he still loved face. Is it really okay? As long as it works, it's okay. But I also tried and was discovered. Mo Jipu looked at Mo Yuheng with a crystal clear expression. Mo Yuheng's difference is no longer nonsense. Okay, it's because you didn't act well. I'll help you put on makeup, change your appearance, go to my yard, I'll change your clothes and put them on. I'll go early tomorrow noon. Okay. Mo Jipu followed behind Mo Yuheng and hid in the dark at the entrance of Lingxiang Academy. Let Mo Jipu go inside to check first. The results showed nothing, and there was no one. Mo Yuheng entered, lost in thought, looking at the courtyard without any trace. If he had followed the methods of the female protagonist Mo Jishue and failed to achieve his goals, he might have killed both maids in anger. Has there been no trace left? Upon closer inspection, there were several drops of blood on the grass leaves in the courtyard, which were clearly withered and turned dark red, but clearly still fresh. Obviously, those 2 maidservants have been killed, so they don't have to take action themselves. They are also reaping the consequences themselves. Mo Jipu walked over and patted Mo Yuheng, who was squatting on the ground and thought, "Hey. What are you doing?" "No, just curious why there are a few drops of blood here." Otherwise, Mo Yuheng didn't care. He stood up and opened his room with Mo Jipu. Inside, besides a bed, there was also a cabinet, a table, and chairs. Everything was gone. Moreover, these families have areas where arms and legs are missing, paint is peeling off, and even the servants of the Mo family would despise them. They are meant for the master to live in, indicating that Mo Yuheng is not living as well as himself, and he couldn't help but cast a pitiful gaze. Mo Yuheng calmly went to the wardrobe and opened it. He picked out the 2 best sets of clothes without patches, but they had already turned white after washing. "Here you are, but it's a bit small. I need to make some changes, which will take some time," he said. Mo Yuheng was an orphan in his past life. It was not possible to have his own new clothes in the orphanage. They were all things that his older brothers and sisters couldn't wear in the past. He gave them small clothes, and occasionally there were torn areas. The dean's mother and others couldn't take care of them all. Mo Yuheng learned some sewing skills, and with a slight modification, there was no problem. But the costume is still a bit unfamiliar and needs to be explored. Mo simply nodded and sat bored on the nearby stool, almost falling. Hurriedly stood up, looking at the chair lying on the ground with lingering fear. "I really don't know how you've been living these past few years," Mo Rustic sighed and looked at Mo Yuheng with pity. "I think you are too idle. Why don't you go outside and see if anything happens?" Mo Yuheng said meaningfully. Mo Jishue, the female protagonist, has not obtained her spiritual roots, so where will she go? Of course, it is to go find the next child who reserves spiritual roots and seize them, which should leave some traces. "Alright, I'll go out and take a look, and by the way, I'll go get some food from the kitchen," Mo Kipu said before turning around and leaving directly. He had already figured out where he was going. Previously, the place where they went to steal food was just a small kitchen, and the truly lively place was the big kitchen provided for the masters to eat. There are many people there, people coming and going, and the crowd is mixed. It is a must-have place to go to the big kitchen, and it is relatively easy to inquire about things. He thought it was very simple, but he was wrong. Just as I poked my head out of the hiding place, I noticed that there were fewer people here than usual. The people walking hurriedly looked serious and especially quiet. Just as he was feeling surprised, he noticed many people standing guard on the roadside, and a pair of patrolling people and horses happened to pass by from here. Mo Jipu raised his head to meet the other person and met them head-on. The other party shouted loudly, "Who are you? You're sneaking around there." The person standing guard there turned their head upon hearing this and found a child standing more than 20 meters away in a daze. 2 groups of people and horses chased after. Mo Jipu exclaimed inwardly, "Oh my goodness! What's going on today? Did they take the wrong medicine?" Thinking of turning around, he immediately ran away and crawled into a hidden place, disappearing. He was quite familiar with these places, which brought him great convenience, and soon he got rid of the people chasing and blocking him. Arriving at a safe place, I sat on the ground panting heavily and reached out to pat my chest, my soul in shock. If not, I'd better hurry back and find Yuheng. Otherwise, he doesn't know the situation outside and was accidentally caught and knocked down by these people. What should he do? Mo Jipu thought of this, stood up, and went out to inquire. Knowing what was going on, he rushed to Lingxiang Academy without stopping. Mo Yuheng looked at Mo Jipu, who was all disheveled and sweating profusely, and put down the clothes that had already been modified. "How did you make yourself so disheveled? Still kindly give him water." Mo Jipu took the water in one breath, drank it up, supported the table with one hand, and recounted what had just happened. Mo Yuheng only found out that she guessed correctly. In another courtyard not far from her, Mo Hui Zhuang, there was a 5-year-old disrespected family member who was discovered by servants early in the morning in a pool of blood and died tragically. This incident caused shock and attention from the entire Mo family. Many people were dispatched to investigate, but no trace was found. After Mo Jipu finished speaking, he looked at Mo Yuheng with concern and said, "We should stay well in the yard for a while and not go anywhere. It's best to hide, otherwise something bad will happen." Mo is simple, but why is he feeling uneasy inside? Perhaps it was because he experienced too much torture and pain when he was young that he developed his sensitivity to things. Of course, Mo Yuheng dared not stay at Lingxiang courtyard for a long time. "Let's go back to the bottom of the kitchen first, and we will go for testing together tomorrow." "Okay," Mo nodded simply. After Mo Yuheng left, he still tidied up the inside and restored it to its original appearance without leaving any trace. Only then did he leave with peace of mind. Not long after leaving, Mo Jishue returned to Lingxiang Academy again to investigate what was different inside. Why be so cautious? Mo Lao, who came out of the jade pendant, followed slowly. "Last night, we were still not prepared to seize the spiritual roots. The speed was too slow to process the traces, and we were discovered at the scene," Mo Jishue said while inspecting. "There was a look of great regret in my heart." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Obstruction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Obstruction. So what? Mo Lao said proudly. What's so scary about his previous strong cultivation, ordinary people like grass, and low-level cultivators like ants? Don't worry, the scene of the previous robbery of the spirit root has already been decorated and clues cleared. They can't find you even if they want to find you. What are you afraid of? Mo Lao comforted again. Mo Jishue thought his words were good and reasonable. Moreover, I have already established a good impression of face and kindness among others, coupled with Mo Lao's strength and extensive knowledge, I am sure to have a good future. Mo Jishue nodded and said, "Xie Mo, I should be careful and vigilant. But don't worry, I promise to help you recover, and I will definitely keep my promise." Mo Lao nodded very satisfied, and indeed he did not misjudge anyone. Being too cautious is not good, but being decisive often leads to missing opportunities. Fortunately, at a young age, she is like a rough jade, waiting for manual carving, but can guide the other party in the direction she wants to be advantageous. Alright, let's go. Go back and merge the remaining half of the spiritual roots, so as not to have too many dreams at night. Mo Lao's words woke up Mo Jishue, thinking it was very reasonable. Okay, Mo Lao, let's go back first. The main thing is to see tomorrow's outcome. I was thinking too much. If they could find the culprit, they would have already found it. Why wait until now? You're right about that, Mo Lao said, turning into a blue smoke and entering a piece of jade pendant to transmit the message. So one person and one soul left, disappearing without a trace. Mo Jishue is not afraid at all. Mo Yuheng is just an unimportant passerby in her life, so there is no need to pay too much attention. From the mouths of two maids who betrayed Mo Yuheng, it was revealed that Mo Yuheng had a severe fever before disappearing. Faced with such a 5-year-old girl, such a high fever would kill her. Save her from personally exposing information. The next day, Mo Yuheng woke up from his sleep after being exposed to the sun for 3 strokes. After rubbing his eyes for a while and feeling confused, Mo Jipu handed over a damp cloth, took it and covered his face. He instantly regained consciousness and said, "When is it? It's been a long time, it's already a moment past." Mo Jipu looked anxious and excited, but also worried as he looked at Mo Yuheng. "I want to go in and test my spiritual roots, so all my hope is to invest more in Mo Yuheng. 3 years have passed, and my stepmother has prevented 3 missed opportunities to test my spiritual roots. This time, we must cooperate well and not miss any good opportunities." "Oh. Mo Yuheng remained extremely calm and didn't panic. It was already time, but it happened to be 9 o'clock. There's still time, get up and start changing into tattered clothes. Wearing patched clothes all over her body to test her spiritual roots may lead to misunderstandings and prevent her from entering the test. She may miss the opportunity to test her spiritual roots and cry while lying down. Here, breakfast. I got porridge from the kitchen. Drink it while it's hot. It's delicious and eat it quickly. Don't waste it. Mo Rustic urged. Carefully place the bowl on the flat ground and place the steamed buns on top. When you are hungry, it is not easy to eat a bowl of porridge. Only on special days can you have such good luck. It can be seen that porridge is a kind of food in Mo's simple heart. Good things are very precious. Mo Yuheng nodded and washed his face for a while, then looked up to find Mo Jipu staring at her tightly, with a tense expression. And his eyes were very black, like cherishing the national treasure black panda with a pair of black eyes. Mo Yuheng was startled and said, "What's wrong with you? You didn't sleep well." I'm about to test my spiritual roots, I'm a bit excited. Mo Jipu couldn't say he was too nervous and didn't close his eyes all night. God knows that his stepmother has cast too much shadow on him, fearing that he may miss the opportunity to test his spiritual roots again. Mo Yuheng looked at his dark circles under his eyes and judged based on the depth of the color that he hadn't slept all night and didn't poke him to save him some face. "This is the clothes I made for you. Hurry up and put them on, I'll dress you up." Mo Yuheng still saved this cute child first. His appearance was so restless, indicating that he was under a lot of pressure and suffering. Okay, Mo nodded simply and immediately changed into clothes. The current 8-year-old male and female children have not yet developed, and there is not much difference in appearance and size, which is also his advantage. After finishing his meal, watching him change into something and come to him, he pulled him down and Mo Yuheng took out his makeup tools, which were very rudimentary. It's grassroots, or it's thatch. All the tools are sourced from current achievements, but although they may not be as easy to use, they are better than never before, as long as you can apply makeup. It was quickly finished, and his appearance foundation was good. The makeup dealt with the edges, weakened his appearance, and suddenly transformed into a vivid girl, which was very natural. If I didn't know I was a boy, I would have thought I was a girl. You're really amazing, they don't even know me anymore. Mo Jipu couldn't help feeling excited inside. Alright, let's go. We're going to test our spiritual roots. Don't delay, it's already 3:15 p.m. Putting down his tools, Mo Yuheng sorted his things and left with a bun. Helping Mo Qianpu with makeup takes a long time, mainly due to lack of convenient tools. Mo Jipu looked at the utensils and things inside, wishing he could take them all away. Mo Yuheng pushed him and said, "Hurry up, don't delay the time. Let's go quickly. You don't need these rags anymore. You have a spiritual root. After testing your spiritual root, what is missing? The family will make up for it. I can understand that Mo Chipu has been living a worse life than his servants in recent years, with a constant hunger and a tendency to cherish clothes and other daily necessities. It doesn't mean that he is a disciple of the Mo family's cultivation of immortals. Using rags not only won't arouse sympathy from the other party, but also leave a bad impression on the Mo family's elders. It's not worth the loss. Alright then. Mo Chipu reluctantly led Mo Yuheng away, not taking the main road or the small road. This way, it was safer and not to be stopped by his stepmother Xiao Mingzhu's people. I quickly arrived at a very spacious square, where people came and went, and it was very lively. Most couples bring their children aged 5 or 6 to test, queuing up in a long line one by one. Most of the children inside are dressed in coarse linen clothes. They are the descendants of the Mo family who have no spiritual roots and are sent to live in the village. The children they give birth to are 5 years old and have a chance to come to the Mo family for testing. There is also a small group of children in luxurious clothing who are the masters of the Mo mansion, many of whom have spiritual roots as their parents. There are about 300 children counting, and there are more children coming over one after another. Mo Yuheng also had to walk into the queue, but was stopped by one hand on the way ahead. His face darkened, and when he looked up, he saw a fierce woman. "Oh my! Where are you from, little girl? Hurry up, this is not where you should be careful not to be caught." The ferocious woman cursed and pulled Mo Yuheng, trying to push her out of line. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Duo Hui Zhuang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Duo Hui Zhuang. Mo Yuheng felt inexplicable, but he didn't expect the other party to hold their hands tightly without any intention of letting go, and even struggling was useless. Why do you target her like this when you don't know each other in your own and the original owner's memory? If you can't figure it out, don't think too much. Let's break free from the control of the other party before speaking. Otherwise, you will miss the opportunity to test your spiritual roots. You will have to wait for a year and distance yourself from the female protagonist Mo Zhishue. This unfavorable situation is not what she wants. At this moment, Mo Zhipu reflected and said, "Li Mama, let go of her. Hurry up and pull on the fierce old woman." Upon hearing Mo Zhipu's voice towards this woman, Mo Yuheng immediately realized that this wicked woman was a servant of Mo Zhipu's legitimate mother, Xiao Mingzhu. Coming here should be to stop Mo Qianpu. How did she become her? It is puzzling that Mo Zhishue is the only one who has a grudge against her, but when did her hand reach out to Xiao Mingzhu like this, making the old lady difficult for her? At this moment, a fiery gaze looked at her. The sensitive Mo Yuheng looked up and saw that the direction seemed to be towards Mo Zhishue. She and a group of children aged 5 or 6 who were about to test their spiritual roots were very eye-catching. Combined with her fresh and elegant appearance, and gentle smile, it is certain that she is the female lead Mo Zhishue. If that's her line of sight, then today's game was designed for her by the other party. I didn't expect her to design such meticulous methods. Mo Zhishue knows that Mo Yuheng's spiritual roots are good. When she grows up through cultivation, she is afraid that the other party will know about the ideas she once had for her, and if her cultivation is successful, she will settle the accounts. She was careful and cautious, and due to the relationship with the clan leader, Xiao Mingzhu, the wife of the clan leader, favored her greatly. Xiao Mingzhu's servants flattered her. So when asked to help, Li Mama was certainly extremely willing. A child is easy to handle. You child, let go. After a long time of not seeing Mo Zhipu, Li Mama couldn't recognize him. Now, in a fit of anger, she pushed Mo Zhipu away with force. Mo Zhipu fell to the ground with stars shining in his eyes, so he had to quickly get up. In order to help Mo Yuheng, he didn't care about the danger of exposure. How unlucky. Li Mama shattered a bite on the ground. It's better to quickly take the person away. Mo Yuheng has greater strength and leaves faster. This commotion alarmed the people next to her. She had intended to go up and help, but the other person was from Xiao Mingzhu's side, otherwise she would have offended Li Mama. Li Mama is a calculating and resentful mother. Law. These small villagers cannot afford to offend her and still need to flatter her. Mo Yuheng's face turned cold, and he decisively opened his mouth and bit the other person's wrist, breaking through his skin and bleeding. Li Mama felt pain and didn't let go of her, slapping her fair face. Mo Yuheng's face was swollen high, blue and purple, and the corners of his mouth were bleeding. Her head was buzzing and dizzy, but fortunately, the scorching pain made her wake up a bit. Quickly lifting his foot, he kicked fiercely towards Li Mama's fierce face. Ah! Li Mama screamed in agony. After all, her body was ordinary and she couldn't resist it. She let go of her hands and vigorously touched her face. A child's footprints appeared, especially tears streaming down the area where they stepped on their eyes. Mo Yuheng took the opportunity to jump onto the ground and gave a strange glance at Mo Jishue. He whispered to Mo Jipu, "Next, don't worry about me. You can check your spiritual roots first. But it's very dangerous like this, and the other party won't let you go. Li Mama is famous for her love of holding grudges. Many servants used to be angry with him, but they didn't dare to speak up." Mo Jipu couldn't help but worry about his own affairs, tightly holding on to Mo Yuheng. "Someone is protecting me, how could I be in trouble?" Mo Yuheng wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth and said coldly. "What?" Mo Jipu couldn't understand. "Wait a moment, you'll know." Mo Yuheng took off his paw and saw that Li Mama had already climbed up behind him. With anger, he rushed over to catch her. Many people gave way, fearing that this might happen. Mo Yuheng didn't care about anything else and quickly ran towards Mo Jishue. He slammed into the other person's waist and cried pitifully, "Sister Jishue, help me, help me. I heard someone say you are a good person, and you will definitely help me, right? I don't even know her, and I don't want to test her spiritual roots. A servant who inexplicably attacked the master is unreasonable. Maybe I will be dragged away this time and die." Mo Jishue didn't react and was hit hard, taking several steps back. "My stomach hurt so much that I almost screamed out, and I bent down with a twisted expression, trying my best to restrain myself. I wish I could throw out Mo Yuheng in front and die, but in public, it's not possible. Full of bad breath, unable to vent. She is in a dilemma and doesn't know what to do. Helping Mo Yuheng has become a good name, which would offend Li Mama to death. She is doing things for herself, isn't she going to slap her face?" Countless people looked at her, leaving her with a thorn in her back. "Sister, what's wrong with you?" Mo Yuheng, like a 5-year-old child, naively worried. "You just hurt me." Mo Jishue gritted her teeth and gently pulled Mo Yuheng away. Mo Yuheng took a few steps back, feeling aggrieved. Mo Jishue's supporters looked at her with bad eyes, and he lifted them away. Feeling guilty, he supported Mo Jishue and said, "Sister, Yuheng didn't mean it. I'm sorry. Are you okay? I'll take you to see a doctor." To be honest, Mo Jishue couldn't bear to look at her. When is it now to test her spiritual roots, which is related to her future? How could she go and say, "It's okay. It's okay, that's good"? Li Mama came over and was about to pull her. Mo Yuheng, with his small body, hid behind Mo Jishue and cried out in fear, "Sister, sister, help. Li Mama is going to save lives." Mo Jishue stumbled a few steps and cursed inwardly, seeing that she had to break her wealth to seal Li Mama's mouth. Taking out 5 spirit stones, she placed them all in the other person's arms and smiled, saying, "Li Mama, she's just a child. What mistake did she make? For the sake of her young age and my face, let's let this go." As a gesture, Li Mama was very mature and understood her meaning a bit. She nodded and glared at Mo Yuheng, saying, "I'll let you go this time. If you dare to make mistakes again next time, even with Miss Mo Jishue, it won't be useful." After finishing speaking, she turned around and left. Mo Jishue breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Li Mama didn't cause any trouble. What's going on? But in my heart, I feel pain in those 5 spiritual stones. This is equivalent to the month when the children of the family practice qi. But it was given by Xiao Mingzhu and the clan leader, which can buy a lot of things and be used for cultivation. It has many uses and should have been used on the blade, but now it's all over. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Testing Spiritual Roots. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Testing Spiritual Roots. Thank you, sister. You are the most beautiful and kind-hearted person that Yuheng has ever seen. Mo Yuheng praised and casually picked it up, as if it looked extremely sincere. Mo Jishue's inner anger has already ruined her plan. What else can she do at this point? The worst thing is like this. It's okay, you have to be good and not be so naughty in the future. Li Mama won't treat you like this for no reason. It is impossible to slander her like this and leave the impression that she is a bad child who loves to be mischievous and mischievous. Mo Yuheng said pitifully, Sister, I'm from Lingxianjuan. I rarely go out on weekdays, and I don't even know the famous Li Mama. How could I offend him? It's really strange. What's even more strange is that my 2 maids have disappeared and haven't come back all day. I'm afraid I'll come here alone, When everyone heard about Ling Xiangyuan, they were lost in thought. It was rumored that this child was the illegitimate daughter of the clan chief and was brought back to the Mo family 3 years ago. But Mo Zhixue didn't think so. Her heart was pounding, and she let Mo Lao kill those 2 maids. She looked very calm on the outside. Mo Yuheng couldn't help but admire the female protagonist's determination. Since it's not good to get the interest back, the tiger is pulling its hair out of its mouth. Really? Mo Zhixue replied dryly. Mo Yuheng's expression became even more pitiful. Sister, my face hurts. Holding on to Mo Zhixue's hem tightly, the 2 of them looked very intimate. Mo Yuheng was very dependent on her, and if it were someone else, their hearts would have softened long ago. But Mo Zhixue wouldn't say, then you go see a doctor first. I don't know how to go, what if I lose myself after turning 7 or 8? Mo Yuheng asked Chu Baba to look at Mo Zhixue. Mo Zhixue's followers originally thought Mo Yuheng was too despicable, but now they are starting to pity her. And the person is delicate and lovely, like a New Year painting doll, with a softer inner touch without any other movement from Mo Zhixue. Several followers of Mo Zhixue reacted and squatted down, touching Mo Yuheng's small head. Their voice was extremely kind and they said, Poor thing, I'm here to blow on you. It doesn't hurt anymore, it doesn't hurt anymore. Some people quickly leave to get eggs or ice cubes, hoping to come over and help remove the bruises on their faces. This slap has been hanging on my face all along, and it doesn't look good, it destroys the beautiful scenery. Is it still painful? Asked a follower gently, helping. No pain, thank you, sister. Mo Yuheng was polite and had a sweet mouth. Suddenly, Mo Zhixue's existence was reduced to the lowest level, and countless crows flew over her heart. It was supposed to be her own scene, but how did it become Mo Yuheng's? Really, after a while, many people came over one after another, and almost everyone had arrived. With the help of his followers, Mo Yuheng's bruises on his face have improved significantly, and he is not as swollen and terrifying as before. Alright, it's time for you to leave. It won't be too good when the clan leader and a few elders come and see it. Mo Zhixue still couldn't bear to watch, reminding everyone. All followers nodded, reluctantly instructing and hastily leaving. Mo Zhipu breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Mo Yuheng had nothing to do. He calmly queued up and waited for the test, feeling excited. He used to be hindered by his stepmother's interference, and only missed 3 years. Thanks to Mo Yuheng's help, he had the opportunity he has now. Mo Yuheng seemed to have been mature since childhood, tightly holding on to Mo Zhixue's hand. First, hold her, and if anything bad happens, hold her and block her. Secondly, I can't afford it myself, and there should be no coincidences that may cause me to miss out on testing my spiritual roots. She is not the female lead, lacks the female lead aura, missed the spiritual root test, and countless people opened the back door for her. Quickly, several figures appeared in the sky, graceful and extraordinary. I walked down from high altitude step by step, looking slow, but quickly arrived at the center of the square, standing above the constructed stone platform. Several cultivators who maintain order first respectfully salute and shout loudly, greet the clan leader and elders. The others reacted and bowed respectfully, shouting in unison, greetings to the clan leader and elders. For a moment, someone was excited, happy, looking forward, afraid, exploring, and blind to the future, and immature children don't know what to worry about. Obediently follow the adult's requirements, line up and wait for the spiritual root to be tested. Yuheng couldn't calm down deeply in his heart. Is walking in the air the means of immortals? She is a bit impatient and wants to learn the magic of the immortal family. The clan chief looked at the crowd and said some pretentious words seriously, "You are the hope of the family. Before the age of 5, you are happy, and after 5, you are a watershed in life, which is undoubtedly cruel." Silently watching everyone for a while, everyone really quieted down. The sound of needles falling was very oppressive. Children don't understand, but those ordinary parents of most children know that they once tested their spiritual roots at the age of 5. Those without spiritual roots will continue to be exiled to villages, where they will work at sunrise and rest at sunset in front of ordinary people. Decades later, the fallen leaves will return to their roots and end their lives. Growing up in the Mo family's house since childhood, those who tested without spiritual roots have a deeper understanding. Those who grew up in the village only envy and regret it. Then, the clan leader said, "Whether or not there is a divine fate depends on your destiny." After finishing speaking, a round and transparent sphere appeared in his hand. With a wave of his big hand, he flew to the middle of the high platform and floated in the air. "Alright, let's start testing the spiritual roots. One by one, come up and place your hands on top of the testing spiritual balls." The glowing spiritual balls represent the presence of spiritual roots, which can be left on the stage without going down. The clan leader finished speaking and sat on the chair, looking at everyone. The arrangements for maintaining order were only systematic, and children went up to test them one by one. The person maintaining order reported loudly, "There is no spiritual root. No spiritual roots. No spiritual roots." After more than 10 consecutive lifeless roots, the clan leader and several elders showed a disappointed expression. Every year, testing the spiritual roots is very important, which is related to the prosperity of the family, maintaining successors, and personally taking charge. A little boy went up to test, his hands on the spirit ball. The spirit ball burst out with 4 types of light: gold, green, blue, and red, and disappeared. The clan chief and others smiled with relief, and everything started getting better and better. The clan chief said, "What is your name?" "Mo. The little boy involuntarily grasped the corners of his clothes with both hands and lowered his head. "Yuzi generation, good, good, you can stay." The clan leader was overjoyed. "Really?" Mo looked up incredulously and turned to look at her parents below the stage. His parents nodded happily, encouraging and watching. His son could become a fairy without having to spend his whole life digging in the soil like they did. "Zihan, you arranged to distribute spiritual pearl subsidies," said the clan leader. Mo Zihan nodded. "Every family member with a spiritual root will receive a lot of subsidies, making their future life more comfortable. Many parents below are envious, jealous, and resentful. Some are disappointed that their children have no spiritual roots, and those who have not yet tested are hopeful." Next. Soon, someone went up to continue testing the spiritual roots, but to their disappointment, there were no spiritual roots. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. His illegitimate daughter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. His illegitimate daughter. When the spiritual roots were tested before Jishue, 5 spiritual roots, 5 were the 4 spiritual roots, and 4 were the children of the 3 spiritual roots. Most of them are children of the Jade generation, with children from different spiritual roots separated and forming different camps, embracing each other warmly. Most of the children of cultivators have spiritual roots, while only a few children from villages have spiritual roots and are divided into different camps. Next. Upon hearing this sound, Mo Jishue happily stepped forward and pressed her hand on the spirit ball. The spirit ball emitted 2 types of light, blue and green, and it was clear that it was a water and wood double spiritual root, with excellent cultivation talent. The clan chief was very happy and nodded in satisfaction, touching his slender beard. Very well, Jishue, you didn't disappoint me. You are as excellent as your parents, he said back then. Mo Jishue's grandfather asked him to protect Mo Jishue's parents, but unfortunately he couldn't protect them well and lost his life for the family's mission. Feeling guilty, I want to make up for all the debt from Mo Jishue. And as for Mo Jishue, I am a genius with dual spiritual roots, the most outstanding group of family members. Unfortunately, I passed away young, otherwise there would have been a place for them as elders in the family. Mo Jishue breathed a sigh of relief and smiled sincerely. In the past, I was afraid that the methods of Mo Lao would not work, and the haze that was pressing on my head disappeared. I plucked the clouds and saw the moon. I didn't expect my spiritual roots to be so good, and I have a deeper belief in Mo Lao. Come here, stand here. The clan leader wants to give Mo Jishue special honor and the best treatment. If nothing unexpected happens, her spiritual roots are the best among this group, and I believe no one opposes such preferential treatment because Mo Jishue is excellent enough. Yes. Mo Jishue set aside all the things she had previously been unhappy about because of Mo Yuheng. Standing next to the clan chief with envy, jealousy, and hatred from the crowd. Mo Jishue communicated with Mo Lao in her heart and said, Mo Lao, thanks to you this time, we have such a good spiritual root. Mo Lao indifferent and said, as long as you take things seriously in the future. Yes. Mo Jishue's attitude towards Mo Lao was somewhat respectful, which saved her from taking many detours. If there were no Mo Lao and no spiritual roots, they would rush to the village like some children without spiritual roots. Choosing to marry someone and living an ordinary life can be very frustrating. Mo Yuheng walked up, but after a long time, no one paid attention to her because everyone's attention had shifted to Mo Jishue, becoming the focus of attention. But she didn't envy how the female protagonist Mo Jishue's spiritual roots came about. She knew it well and felt even more disgusted towards her. This spiritual root was obtained from a pitiful and innocent 5-year-old child. I wonder if she would think of that pitiful child when she practices at night. With her selfish personality, she probably won't, and she will still feel that this is appropriate. Mo Yuheng pretended to cough, and Mo Zihan, who was testing to maintain order, finally realized, next. Mo Yuheng then placed his hand on the spirit ball. After a while, a dazzling ice blue light burst out from inside the spirit ball, making the opponent almost unable to open their eyes. This is. The clan leader and several elders stood up in shock and came up to them, looking incredulously. Mutated ice spirit root. The elder exclaimed in surprise. Upon hearing these words, Mo Jishue's originally happy face cracked open with a crack. The elder quickly regained his sanity, fearing to scare Mo Yuheng, and said gently, little girl, which lineage are you from? What is your name? Mo Yuheng blinked and tilted his head in confusion, saying, my name is Mo Yuheng. I don't know who I am, but I heard everyone say I am the illegitimate daughter of the clan chief. Several elders, upon hearing that they were the illegitimate daughters of the clan leader, looked at him with eerie eyes. The elder eagerly looked at the clan chief and said, it's really your illegitimate daughter. Tu Zhang Lao swirled around the faces of the clan chief and Mo Yuheng, confidently saying, if it's not my own daughter, who else can it be? How similar are their faces? Many people below stretched their ears, wanting to hear about the romantic debt made by the clan leader with a peach blossom on his face. Everyone is very concerned about it. I am very excited about this gossip. The clan chief's face turned black like the bottom of a pot, and he said coldly, she is my eldest brother's only bloodline. The elders were shocked and looked at Mo Yuheng in disbelief. The elder couldn't help but say, didn't that already destroy the possibility of her having spiritual roots? The second elder nodded in agreement and said with some uncertainty, not all hope will be destroyed, there is still a possibility of 1 in 10,000 hope, and her spiritual roots will be intact. The elder's eyes lit up and he said, that means she has a single spiritual root and can now practice. Who doesn't know that the twin spirit roots in the Great Gate will become inner disciples, even core and true disciples? And Mo Yuheng is a single spiritual root, which will be regarded as a precious existence by the Great Gate. Before reaching the Yuanying stage of cultivation, Dan Lingzhen has almost no bottleneck and can reach the Yuanying stage with very few resources, which is the advantage. Just as several elders were too excited, they were shattered by the words of the clan chief, and their enthusiasm for Mo Yuheng disappeared. The clan chief whispered, "Don't forget, the things entrusted to him by his father are because she will not have spiritual roots in the future, so we can share a share of the pie. During this period, my strength has improved, and I have reached the golden elixir period. You have also made great progress one by one. Do you want to give up all these things with your hands?" Upon hearing these words, the faces of the elders suddenly turned unpleasant, as if they had been stomped on by a cat's tail. It exploded and exposed its fangs, saying, "That's impossible." The elder revealed the thoughts of several elders, secretly regretful. After all, a young generation with a single mutated spiritual root, cultivated well, can achieve extraordinary success in the future, but afraid that Mo Yuheng would achieve success, he begged them for something. What would give him a life? So, several elders and clan leaders joined forces and said to Mo Yuheng, "You're doing well. Stand here." Mo Yuheng had already heard some information from them. His biological father was the elder brother of the clan chief, and the clan chief was his uncle. Why was he so cold to her? The elders had been very good to her before and were happy. Observing the expressions of several individuals carefully, it seems that they can communicate with the cultivators in the novel, but others cannot hear them. What did the clan chief say? A few people reached a consensus on their interests, but their attitude towards her as a single spiritual root was very bad. It seemed that their own bringing involved their interests. Mo Yuheng couldn't figure it out. The future of a single spiritual root is limitless and won't block their path. They should be extremely willing. If she achieves something, she will thank them for their cultivation. Practicing doesn't consume much. When he goes to the sect, he won't use the family's resources, so he shouldn't step on their bottom-line interests. What is that? What Mo Yuheng couldn't figure out was that his parents were Yuanying Zhenjun, and life and death were intertwined. Why would they leave something for her only daughter? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. 10 Climbing Along the Pole. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Climbing Along the Pole. But not only did she not receive it, the things she should have were most likely to be taken away by the clan leader and elders, and were also disliked by the entire family. Without revealing her identity, she threw her directly into the Lingxiang courtyard and sent 2 maids to serve her. She didn't care about anything and remained indifferent to this. If she is really indifferent, why is the clan leader so responsible and good to Mo Zhixue? She is also an orphan, and her parents have made great contributions to the family. She should have received good treatment, but the female protagonist did not. It's not common sense. The elder who treated her well just now had no further conversation with the clan leader. It can be seen that all of these are what the clan leader said, causing several elders to change their attitudes. Mo Yuheng thought about it and deliberately looked at the clan leader simply. "Clan leader, my father is your elder brother, so I am not your illegitimate daughter, but your own niece. I should call you uncle, right?" In public, everyone spoke out their previous words, but the clan leader couldn't argue and nodded coldly, yes. To everyone's surprise, Mo Yuheng rushed towards him with a pitiful expression. Suddenly, caught off guard by the clan chief, he hugged his thigh and said, "Woo-woo. Are you really my uncle?" The chieftain felt his thighs heaving and looked down, his face turning black. He gritted his teeth and said, "Yes. I wish I could throw this little bunny out. Those older generations all know that I am an illegitimate child with the talent of the 3 spirit roots, and his good brother Mo Zhangfeng is a single with spirit roots. He became a disciple of Yao Guang and was directly adopted as a true disciple by Yuan Jinjuan. Along the way, he rose steadily and reached the level of Yuanying, becoming one of the geniuses in the entire cultivation world. And what about him? It's just a waste that others don't like. Compared to it, he can't even be considered scum. Those who are able to sit in this position also need to thank his good brother for disdaining this position, throwing it to him and picking up something he didn't want. His self-esteem was trampled into the mud, and he waited for each other to die every day, as if the heavens had heard his thoughts. Before long, Mo Zongfeng and his wife died. He didn't know how many days and nights he had been happy alone, but he didn't show it. He did a great job outside. He is a good younger brother who is heartbroken about his brother's death. He locked himself up in the house for a few days and nights to see him off. I spared no effort to bring my brother's only bloodline from Yao Guang back to my tribe and take good care of it. Who in the clan doesn't know his good reputation, good brother, good uncle? Mo Yuheng didn't know, but she was very good at looking at her face and knew that the other party wouldn't treat her well. Previously, the original owner was casually thrown into the Lingxiang courtyard, and she was on her own. You already know the other person's attitude, and then it depends on how you treat them. However, Mo Yuheng is not yet familiar with the original owner's father and the clan leader's affairs. It seems that she needs to investigate carefully when she has time. Because the book did not mention the relationship between the clan leader and the original owner wrote it out, but only a few chapters of small canon fodder, serving as a stepping stone for the female protagonist Mo Zhishue. Knowing oneself and the enemy is the key to victory in all battles. I thought I didn't have any relatives. Mo Yuheng wiped away his tears and complained. He had been struggling these years and couldn't help but feel sorry for the parents below. He couldn't help but be infected and shed tears. If I really die, if my children are left to be bullied and no one helps me, I don't know what to do and can empathize with them. All the members of the clan are bright and spirited. What will the clan leader do next? They believe that the clan leader was not intentional and there must be something unknown. This has led to Mo Yuheng suffering injustice over the years. The clan chief held his hand tightly inside his sleeve, with a slightly stiff expression that could not be seen without careful observation. In recent years, our strength has reached the critical point of breaking through, and we have taken it to the next level. We entrusted you to those two loyal maids, who were originally at ease. However, we didn't expect them to mistreat you like this. Don't worry, I will send someone to search for these two maids, and I will respect and punish them. The attitude that should be said and done must be flawless, otherwise we will fall into someone's hands. The clan chief cursed inwardly, this dead girl is only 5 years old, isn't she? The lower clan leader breathed a sigh of relief. As expected, they were right. Where is such a person like the clan leader? Uncle, you are so kind. If I have anything to do in the future, I will definitely not hesitate to seek your help. You have been so kind to me over the years, just like your biological father. I believe that your kindness to Mo Zhishue is because his parents sacrificed for his family. If you treat him so well, you should treat me better than her. After all, everyone is watching and knows that you are a good clan leader. Mo Yuheng climbed up the pole and these words directly applied I medicine. Not only do you want the clan leader to be kind to Mo Zhishue, but you also need to have concerns, add obstacles to Mo Zhishue, and reduce assistance. And his attitude towards himself must change because he believed that the brotherly relationship between Mo Zongfeng and the clan chief Mo Zongqing was not as good as he had imagined. If there is a grudge, the clan leader can easily seek revenge. Perhaps in the eyes of the entire clan, they are hesitant and restrained, and dare not openly pay her more. It seems that in the future, one should pay attention to the people around them, as they may harbor malicious intentions. If one day they plan on themselves, they may not know who it is. Especially Li Mama, who loves to hold grudges, she needs to pay more attention. Don't worry, with my uncle around, I won't let anyone bully you anymore. Mo Zhangqing stood up and approached Mo Yuheng, bending down to gently touch her little head. If it weren't for knowing that Mo Zhangqing was not good, Mo Yuheng would have thought he was really genuinely good to his niece. Really? That's great. I, Mo Yuheng, am no longer an orphan, but a person with a biological uncle. Mo Yuheng clapped and cheered happily, much like a real child. Mo Zhishua sneered, really being kind to you. He thought too much about the relationship between your parents and Mo Zhangqing. How could it get better? Without any obstacles to you, he was already broad-minded. Suddenly, my mood improved a lot, but what about Dan Lingzhen? He was just not valued. Next, Mo Zihan shouted loudly, and one by one, the children came up to test. Unfortunately, without their previous good luck, they did not test their spiritual roots. But Mo Yuheng had extremely thick skin and suddenly pushed Mo Zhishue away, coming to Mo Zhangqing's side. He even climbed onto Mo Zhangqing's chair and sat there, feeling completely uncomfortable. The people above were shocked. Mo Yuheng really knew how to climb up the pole. Even the legitimate son of Mo Zhangqing is not as close as Mo Zhangqing and has always been familiar with him. And what about her? Mo Zhishue felt that Mo Yuheng was being foolish. Why did the heavens give her such a good spiritual root? Before, her spiritual root was almost her own, so why did she become Mo Yuheng? I am extremely unwilling in my heart and hate Mo Yuheng a bit. End of this chapter.